So JD Vance hosted Charlie Kirk's show today, which I did not know was one of the vice president's responsibilities. And he essentially made a call for disunity. Yes, he declared that he and the federal government were going to go after leftist organizations in this country. And why? Well, because I guess the acts of one individual person, which we still don't completely understand, by the way, are going to be laid at the feet of an entire political party and any organizations and agencies that further the agenda of the left or the Democratic Party. This is exactly the opposite of what needs to happen here. But like his boss, JD Vance, is a petty man and he's a weak man. And he will use any excuse he can find to further divide us and malign and villainize the opposing party. Why? Well, again, he's a weak, pathetic man who understands on some level just how weak and pathetic he is, but also because it will keep the base of the Republican Party riled up and increase the likelihood that another horrific act of violence will happen again in this country. He's going to engage in a little stochastic terrorism just like Donald does on occasion. And then that violence will be used to justify even more terrible and extreme crackdowns of any dissenting voices. There's one person responsible for the murder of Charlie Kirk, and that is the man who murdered him. Now, obviously, I think it's important to understand how these things happen, but one man's motives do not extend to anybody else. If we want to understand acts like this, I don't know that we can understand one individual act truly, but the increasingly violent climate in this country in terms of our politics, we need to be having conversations about why that's happening, who's responsible for it, what are we going to do about it? But also there's another little thing that people keep ignoring, and obviously, especially for people on the right, casting aspersions on the Democrats and threatening them, and quite frankly, potentially endangering them, is much easier than doing the hard work that needs to be done. For example, most importantly, we need to talk about the fucking guns. But instead, people like JD Vance are playing with fire. They aren't just pouring gasoline on a fire they started, they are playing with fire and increasing the likelihood of these kinds of horrific events to happen with greater frequency. I don't know about you guys. I am sick to death of it because somebody else is going to get hurt. Let's dive in. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Mary Trump Live. It is wonderful to have you here tonight. I hope you got some downtime this weekend. Didn't feel like much of a weekend, but that's probably because the news cycle just never, ever, ever slows down. So I hope you unplugged, at least a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to know just what it is Donald wants to distract us from most. But I think today it's probably the terrible economy Why? Well, because he's almost entirely responsible for how terrible our economy is. And it's terrible because of his exceedingly reckless and irresponsible trade policies. Because of those, which is to say, because of Donald and his incompetence, prices are up. So let's take a look at this recent inflation update from ABC News.
If you feel like prices are still inching higher at the grocery store, you're not wrong. According to the latest inflation report out today from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, food prices between July and August jumped 0.6%, the biggest monthly increase since August 2022, and are now 2.7% higher than a year ago. With coffee up 20.9%, apples up 9.6%, and bananas up 6.6%. Ground beef up 12.9%, and steaks up 16.6%. And while the price of certain items like eggs and ham have been moving lower recently, economists predict the impact of President Trump's tariffs will start showing up more overall in the final months of the year.
Tariffs are clearly going to be causing price increases across consumer goods. I think we're going to start to see a lot of it as you get closer to the holiday season.
Who could have seen that coming? Meanwhile, jobs numbers are also still tanking. Reuters reports that, quote, the unemployment rate and weekly jobless claims are both the highest since 2021. Remember what was still going on in 2021? Sorry, that was an aside. Continuing with the quote, and unemployed people now outnumber available jobs for the first time in 4 years, unquote. In response to his dismal jobs report, Donald, of course, faced it with equanimity. No, he didn't. He said this.
Virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants. You know that? Most of the job creation has gone to migrants. In fact, I've heard that substantially more than beyond the number of 100%. It's a much higher number than that, but the government hasn't caught up with that yet.
Really? It hasn't caught up with a total impossibility. Donald can't math. So let's be honest about this. 100% of job creation, does that mean immigrants are responsible for 100% of the jobs that were created? I think what he was trying to say, obviously, is that every single job created in this country last year went to an immigrant, which is embarrassing if you believe it, because it's impossible. I mean, technically, it isn't impossible, but it's so incredibly unlikely and improbable that it may as well be impossible. What is actually impossible is that greater than 100% of the jobs created went to immigrants. If you believe that, then there's something seriously wrong with you. Saying it definitely means there's something seriously wrong with you, Donald. So we're going to move from the incompetence to the oppression. Since the death of Charlie Kirk, members of the Trump regime have made it clear that they plan to capitalize on this tragedy no matter what it costs and no matter who gets hurt. It's being used just so cynically as an excuse for the Trump regime to investigate and prosecute political enemies, which is to say people who simply disagree or people who didn't pay sufficient respect to a man they, for their own reasons, admired. Let's take a look at this recent interview Donald gave, copter talk. Check it out.
We'll see. We'll be announcing. They're already under investigation. They're already under major investigation. A lot of the people that you would traditionally say are on the left. They're already under investigation.
For what? Under investigation for what? Is the Department of Justice, is the federal government now in the business of punishing people for saying something tasteless, saying something even deeply offensive? Is that worthy of investigation now? Is that worthy of punishment? That's what we're doing now. Or is it now the business of the federal government to try to determine what they consider sufficient loyalty to the memory of a man many people on the left had every reason not to admire or feel loyal to? We are not allowed to disagree about such things anymore. We are not even allowed to discuss them. We are not even allowed to quote directly a man whose views they claim on the right to admire and value so much. Today, as I mentioned, Vance hosted Kirk's podcast, and he had as his guest, resident Nazi Stephen Miller. They talked about a range of things that were by turn terrifying and crazy. And then Vance turned around and called anyone who disagrees with him crazy. I personally think that a high watermark of sanity is disagreeing with JD Vance, but let's see what he had to say.
And while our side of the aisle certainly has its crazies, it is a statistical fact that most of the lunatics in American politics today are proud members of the far left.
What far left? I mean, I'm not saying there isn't a far left, but who is on the far left in this country? Like, name me one Democratic politician you would label a far leftist. I mean, Democrats, generally speaking, like, seriously, like, established Democrats are basically center-right Republicans in many instances. Whereas, to a person, elected Republicans are on what used to be the far right. The far right is now mainstream Republicanism. I also love the fact that Vance uses the word statistically, despite pointing to no statistics to back up his claim. The murder of Charlie Kirk has shot a spotlight on the incompetence of the loyalists Donald appointed to run the FBI. The FBI is facing scrutiny regarding multiple perceived missteps in its handling of the search for Charlie Kirk's murderer. This morning, FBI Director Kash Patel appeared on Fox and Friends, as I guess FBI directors now do. At one point in the interview, he said he doesn't regret prematurely and incorrectly posting that the misinformation that they'd found Kirk's shooter. Take a look.
So in the 24 hours after, when we were still looking for the guy, I know you posted that we got him. And that ended up not being true. You took some incoming because of that. What led to you posting that? Why did you feel so certain about it? And what do you have to say about the criticism?
No, I appreciate this opportunity. Look, as I stated, I was being transparent with working with the public on our findings as I had them. I stated in that message that we had a subject and that we were going to interview him, and we did, and he was released. The job of the FBI is not just to manhunt the actual suspect who did the killing or suspects, but it's also to eliminate targets and eliminate subjects who are not involved in the process, and that's what we were doing. Could I have worded it a little better in the heat of the moment? Sure. But do I regret putting it out? Absolutely not. I was telling the world what the FBI was doing as we were doing, and I'm continuing to do that, and I challenge anyone out there to find a director that has been more transparent and more willing to work the media on high-profile cases, or any case the FBI is handling, than we have been.
Oh, he didn't really want anybody to do that. Okay. First of all, he actually totally said that they had a suspect in custody. And I'm not in the FBI. I don't really know. I don't think it's the FBI director's job to keep the public apprised of everything they're doing in an investigation. Okay. Also, the FBI didn't do anything to find Charlie Kirk's killer. His father convinced him to turn himself in. So I guess good job. I don't know. By the way, quick aside, Brian Kilmeade, the guy sitting on the couch and asking the questions, recently said that he believed that homeless people deserve to die by lethal injection. He apologized and clearly still has his job. Meanwhile, other actual journalists are quoting Charlie Kirk directly, putting his words in context, and getting fired. So that's where we are. After Patel's embarrassing appearance on Fox and Friends, his perhaps even more unqualified second in command, Dan Bongino, podcast conspiracy theorist guy, revealed that the FBI may have known the subject planned to assassinate Kirk ahead of time and failed to act on it. Take a look at Bongino's appearance on Fox.
Kash Patel said earlier today that he expressed to someone that he had an opportunity to take out the killer and was going to do it. Did that person do anything with that information?
Yeah, that's what we're really disturbed about. It appears that this was communicated. You see this a lot, Bill, when in targeted violence cases, assassinations, school shootings, where the individual expresses in advance in a good swath of these cases his desire or her desire to do these specific things. That appears to be the case here as well, where the intent component was there in advance and the target was announced in advance prior. Now, that's the part we want to know. Did they know and not say? Now, Bill, you have to keep in mind, and I don't want anyone to jump to conclusions on this. Did they say it, hear it, and think it was some kind of a joke? That's what we're trying to find out now. But I promise you, if there's a larger network here, we're going to get that out to the public as soon as we can.
We are in so much trouble with these two people in charge of the FBI. They do not know what they're doing. Their only job, as they see it, is to be loyal to Donald Trump. They have no insight into how incompetent and unqualified they are. And Kash Patel ran a terrible investigation, and Dan Bongino is essentially saying that yes, they knew or had a good idea that this might happen, but they didn't take it seriously. However, he doesn't want us to believe for a second that he's suggesting anything was wrong. This is, quite frankly, exactly how Donald wants all of this. He wants the chaos, he wants the distraction, and he wants the excuses to continue cracking down on segments of American society that threaten or reject him. He is flailing and failing so badly that even some Republicans are starting to criticize him. We all know that during the 2024 campaign, Donald promised to end the Ukraine war on day one of the transition. So that would have been back in November of 2024. And we all know that that was a lie, or it was a delusion. I'm not sure which. It also would have been illegal. But since when has that ever stopped him? But now, after Russia's recent incursion into Polish airspace, Republicans are starting to raise the alarm bells about Donald's horrible handling of the Ukraine war and his repeated and, quite frankly, humiliating capitulation to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Let's check out this compilation by CNN.
Russia's playing, really playing us like a piano right now. He's gotten everything he wants. He's gotten access to the president with a red carpet reception.
I think it is time to move on Russia's sanctions. President Trump wants to make sure that he is giving every opportunity for peace to get this war resolved, but Putin is playing him right now, and I think the president understands that.
He's been weak on Russia. I think he's been great on Iran, but he has been terrible on Russia. He is unable to call Putin out as the invader and have a more moral clarity about who's at fault in this war.
Well, yeah, which should be a no-brainer, but Donald doesn't even understand that. What he does seem to understand, though, is that data don't lie. Remember way back in summer of 2020, he was telling us that the problem was not that there were too many COVID cases, but that we were doing too much testing for COVID cases. Because, and he actually got this right, which, is something that rarely happens. He said, the more you test, the more cases there are going to be. So we should just stop testing. As if he actually thought that would make COVID cases go away, as opposed to our ability to track them. So yeah, on some level, he gets it. Data don't lie. That's why he fired the director of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because why would we want to know how many jobs were created or lost in any given month? Who needs that kind of information except like every business in America? So with inflation on the rise, jobs slowing down, businesses struggling, the data are not Donald's friends. So Donald is now calling for businesses to release fewer of their earnings data to the public. Why? I mean, he literally wants companies to begin sharing their earnings reports only twice a year as opposed to quarterly. This would mean that investors in publicly traded companies would go from seeing data 4 times a year to 2 times, which, again, I know Donald isn't good at mathing, but this is actually arithmetic. That's half the number of reports and half the data that investors need to evaluate how these companies are doing. He claims, of course, that this move is to save companies time and money and continue to deregulate businesses. Well, no. And also, why is everything just about saving money? What is the point of money if all you're doing is saving it? But that is not at all his real motive. He wants less financial transparency for investors and the public. He doesn't want us to know when major companies start doing poorly, are going to do thanks in large part to his failed economic policies. It is common knowledge that Donald was a notoriously awful businessman, and he spent an enormous amount of time and effort trying to keep that fact from people, despite his 6 bankruptcies. Of course, he wants less financial transparency. And of course, there's nothing at all suspicious about that, because everything else he does is so above board. Yes, I was being sarcastic for those of you who haven't caught on yet to my sarcasm. All right. That's a day. So we're going to breathe because it's time. And don't forget, breathing includes exhaling. I find myself holding my breath far too often lately. So thankfully, we have reached our emotional support mode. And today we're going to talk, we're going to do something a little bit different. This is an extremely important topic and something that is extremely important to me, education. But this is a story about a 9-year-old I think I can say the name of the state. Pennsylvania boy named Aiden Wilkins. He is already, so wait, if you're 9, that's 4th grade. Yeah. He's already a sophomore in high school, and he's taking college level courses in neuroscience. His gift for learning emerged by the time he was 2. No, sorry, emerged very early. He was 2 when he was reading. before most kids can even speak. While he's enrolled in high school, he's also studying the brain with college students, and he dreams of becoming a pediatric neurosurgeon so he can help other kids. So not only he's extremely smart, he sounds like an extremely kind and empathetic person as well. Let's watch this report from NBC.
At 9 years old, Aiden Wilkins is making history at a Pennsylvania college.
Every little thing I learn just fascinates me.
And feeling right at home as the youngest student to ever take classes at Ursinus.
I just feel like, okay, I'm in a classroom with people more than double my age.
Okay, because this class in neuroscience is helping Aiden focus on what he wants to be when he grows up.
The reason why I want to be a pediatric neurosurgeon is mainly because, well, I like helping kids around my age.
Since 3, Aiden loved watching anatomy videos.
I was always fascinated when I saw, the brain.
Aiden's mom says his genius was evident when he was still in diapers. He was promoted to high school at 7, when most kids his age go into the 2nd grade. Now at 9, Aiden is in college 3 days a week and has virtual classes as a sophomore in high school.
I'm going to go straight to med school and kind of just see how I do.
One gifted child who may be a gift to all of us. Rahima Ellis, NBC News.
That's amazing. Okay, he's 9. Let's see. So in 2028, he's not going to be old enough to run for president. Is that right? Yeah. See, because I can math. If only. Well, maybe someday. Maybe someday. All right. It is time for your questions, comments, etc. Catherine is a new member. Welcome. It's wonderful to have you here, and thank you. Donna is a member for 4 months. Thank you so much, Donna. Comment, hi, Mary and team. Thank you all for what you do. Thank you all for what you're doing to keep us all informed every day. I know that it's a tremendous feat to keep up with the whiplash news cycle. Again, thank you. Well, thank you. Yeah, and my team does an extraordinary job of keeping up with all of it. Done again. Fantastic. Thank you. Comment, hi, Mary. Yay, I fixed it, Fee. I deleted and reloaded. Why can't I talk tonight? What is going on? Reloaded the YouTube app. Oh, good. I mean, I guess it works sometimes. If you unplug it and plug it back in, it fixes the problem. Maybe we should try that. Catherine, thank you so much as a member for 2 months. Comment, oh dear, what if we just ignored him? Yeah, well, unfortunately, we can't. Wouldn't that be awesome, though? What if the media ignored him? That would actually be helpful. It wouldn't help if we did, but it would help if the media did. I think I'm going to mispronounce this, and I apologize in advance. Uwe? Sorry. Is a new member. Thank you so much and welcome, and I will figure out how to say your name properly. Catherine, thank you so much for that. Comments. Mary, hi. Hello. Happy birthday to my hubby yesterday. Yes, happy birthday. That's fantastic. I hope you all had a wonderful time celebrating. Diane is a member for 3 months. Thank you very much. Comment, hi from Florida, the dumbest state in the USA. Yeah, I'll allow it. It's definitely up there. I mean, lots of competition. Mary Beth, thank you so much. Hi, Mary. Hello. Question. Has anyone heard that September 17th is a shopping blackout day? I have not heard that. That doesn't mean it's not, but we will confirm. That would be Wednesday. So yeah, let's check that out. And just a reminder, that doesn't mean that you buy in advance all the stuff that you would buy on Wednesday. That means you don't buy anything on Wednesday. It means you don't buy anything that you would buy on Wednesday on any day, but especially on Wednesday. I think that's what that means. Mine is Cheryl, gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you so much for that. And again, it is a Mine to Cheryl twofer. Thank you as always. Question: vanilla, chocolate, or other flavor for ice cream? I rarely eat ice cream. But vanilla is probably my favorite flavor. Vanilla. Mm. And again, I can't remember last time I had ice cream, but I particularly like vanilla ice cream with chocolate syrup, not chocolate fudge, chocolate syrup. Yep. There's a new gelato place just opened, and I lied when I didn't lie. I overstated when I said I haven't had ice cream. I got one of those little tiny spoons to taste it, and it was really good. I'm not really sure it counts. It was like literally like this much. Um, but it was delicious. Erin, wow, that's fantastic. Gifted 10 Married Trump Media memberships. That is so very much appreciated. Kathleen is a super sticker. Thank you so very much. That's wonderful. Heather, excellent. Thank you very much. This is in honor of David Rose, the first responder who was fatally shot by the gunman at the CDC. 33-year-old Marine veteran, father, and new officer. He ran into danger but has been forgotten by the powers that be. Well, because the powers that be are largely responsible for the way people currently feel about organizations like the CDC. So that's why. Just as we don't hear them talking about the man who assassinated, I'm sorry, I think it's Wisconsin state legislator Melissa Hortman, and murdered her husband and attempted to carry another assassination because the shooter was had right-wing ideology and was a religious extremist, and they don't want to talk about that stuff. Mine Cheryl again is a member for 4 months. Comment: I sure do love Merry Mondays. Best kind of Mondays. Cool. Except it doesn't feel like Monday today for some reason. Probably because yesterday felt like Friday. It's okay. I'll figure. I'll get on the right timeline. But first, I must hydrate. My apologies. Jenny Lynn, thank you very, very much. Comment: tax for the stupidity of my fellow Americans on both sides. Yeah, well, there's no shortage of that, sadly. Game Station 26, thank you very much. Comment: gee, it's almost like voting for someone who went through several bankruptcies to help fix our country's economy wasn't the best idea. Maybe not. Apparently, we're not completely sure yet. Well, it's not going to be pretty when people find out. Richard, thank you so much for that comment. Since the start of the year, I've heard over and over how unprecedented things are. I don't think I should hear this so often about one administration. Well, no, one, you shouldn't. And two, that phrase was used so many times during his first administration. I was hoping it would get retired, but no, the problem is that almost everything he's doing is unprecedented, or I should say everything the Trump regime doing is unprecedented and bad and unconstitutional and often illegal. Ellie, super sticker, thank you so much for that, Ellie. That's really very generous of you. Susan, thank you as always for gifting 5 Mary Trump Media memberships. Most excellent. Joe, thank you so much, Joe Colorado. Comment: greater than 100% fee. He's a moron. Yeah, he is. Just incredible. Karen is a super sticker. Thanks so very much, Karen. It's great. Jenny Lynn, another super sticker. And again, thank you. That's very kind. Greg, thanks as always, Greg. Comment: waiting for the other Kirk shoe to drop fee. Yeah, yeah. We'll see what we learn. Jan, comment. They think anyone who doesn't worship dear leader is far left. I don't think they actually believe that, but they want other people to believe it. That's for sure. Zella, thank you so much as always. Comment. Kitty's getting treats make me smile. Some smiles for you too. Yeah, Kitty's getting treats. Awesome. I love watching Cap eat a what is they called churro. Love it. It's adorable. Jenny, super sticker. Thank you so very much. Excellent. In the middle of nowhere. Thank you as always. Comment. Oh my God, he's so effing stupid. Similar percentage to non-existent drug price cuts. Yes, he cut prices by like 1,500% or something. If only. In the middle of nowhere. Thank you again. That is 5 Mary Trump Media memberships gifted. Awesome. Julie, also known as Jules Plays Tap for Vets. Thank you as always to you. Comment, hi Mary. Hey, Donald, JD, and Miller. Statistically, you are moronic imbeciles. Kirk was a menace to our country, but I'm sickened by his murder. I think that's all fair. Janet is a new member. Thank you, Janet, and welcome to you. Lizzie Beth, again, thank you. Comment, this is a late fee because a friend brought the cat some chicken thighs that had to be cut up. Well, priorities. I think that's eminently fair. Susan, again, thank you. Comment, seeing lots of new names in the chat. Hello and welcome to the community. Make sure to subscribe. Yes, seriously, it's great to have new people. It really, really is. Mary, thank you very much. Comment, just because. Kitty treats and 3 cat emojis. Yeah, exactly. Tina is a super sticker. Thank you so much, Tina. Lynette, thank you very much. Yes, Donald said, this is the comment. Donald said 300 million people died from drugs in the USA last year, which is 88% of the American population. I am speechless and feel helpless. And people believe that. Okay. That's a lot of people. BT, thank you so much, BT. Elise, thank you for gifting 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Awesome. Kimberly, thank you so very much for that. Comment, I wish that the media would stop same washing your uncle and would stop moral washing that genocidal buckwit Kirk. I don't mean buck. Oh, yeah. I was wondering. I was like, I'd never heard that expression before. Yeah, I mean, listen, there should be no problem with talking about what Charlie Kirk said and stood for, because that's what he said and stood for. What is the problem? Why do they have a problem with that? Yeah, it's really alarming. Calling him a champion of free speech and a passionate debater. I don't know. Does not set well. Betsy is a super sticker. Thank you so much for that, Betsy. Much appreciated. BT, another super sticker. Thank you, BT. And Marcy. Oh, wow. We have a whole string of super stickers. Marcy, thank you very, very much. Janet, thank you. Tara, another super sticker. Thank you so very much. Neely, wow, that's fantastic. That's very kind of you. And generous comment. You make me feel better when I don't feel good at all. Well, I'm very glad that's the case. So thank you again. And thank you all for being here. Again, it feels like we're in the middle of the week already, but it is Monday, which means we will be back here every night this week at 6 p.m. Eastern for Mary Trump Live. Thanks to everybody watching on YouTube, live streaming on Twitter and Substack, to everybody listening to the podcast. Thank you to all of our new members and everybody gifting memberships. It's great to have you guys here. Also to our super stickers and everybody giving us gifts. It truly, truly helps. I promise you. Also to our great moderators for making this a place new people want to come to and old people want to stay at. We know it's very difficult work, so thank you. Quick thing. The easiest way to support us is subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We really want to get 500,000 subscribers, so it's simple. You just click on that subscribe button. Also, click on the bell icon. That way you'll get alerted when new episodes drop. Speaking of new episodes, in addition to having a live show every night at 6 p.m., except Saturday, we have videos dropping every single day, 7 days a week. So please watch those, like them, share them, comment on them, because that all helps us tremendously. And finally, to my amazing team for just doing such incredible work day in, day out. Could not do it without you, obviously. So thank you so very much. Okay, guys, that's it. We will see you tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.